Well, hello everyone and welcome to what is, I think now, our 7th All Saints virtual service. Strange, isn't it, that in some ways we're almost getting used to this as how Sundays look. I hope you're still continuing to enjoy them. Well, some sense of how long this has been going on is that after Easter we're now coming up to the next phase of the Christian year, the next great celebrations of Ascension Day, which will take place this Thursday, 40 days after Easter, and then the great feast of Pentecost, which literally means 50 days, the 50th day after Easter, and of course the festival of the coming of the Holy Spirit. And it's for that long and longer that we have been enclosed in our houses, albeit being given a little bit more freedom now by the government, and unable to meet together as church. And Pentecost Sunday, of course, is sometimes celebrated, and rightly, as the birthday of the church, the first time when individual believers were gathered together to form the movement that we are the heirs of today. Now, when we celebrate Pentecost, as we shall do in a couple of Sundays' time, we will hear once again the story of the coming of the Spirit in tongues of flame and in a rushing mighty wind. And we can perhaps think of the Holy Spirit as represented in the Bible as having to do with the extraordinary and the dramatic and the supernatural. But in today's Gospel reading, we hear of a very different side to the Holy Spirit. Steve Smith, the Vicar of Mabe, in his written reflection, reflects on the Gospel from the perspective of the love that Jesus talks about. But I want us just to think for a moment about the promise that he makes to his disciples in this their last gathering together, as he's teaching them all that they're going to need to know when he's gone. And he promises them another, well, in different versions, different words, another helper, comforter, counselor, advocate. They're all different English words that are used to translate the Greek word parakletos, paraclete. That literally means one who is called alongside. And Jesus talks to this bunch of people who are fearful that if he goes, it'll all come to an end. They won't be able to manage anymore. Everything will fall apart. But he promises them, rather than being worse, actually things are going to be better. When he's gone physically from them, he will be able to send his Spirit, the Spirit of God, the Spirit of Christ, to be with each and every one of them. I'm sure you remember that at Christmas time we always celebrate Jesus being sent to earth as Emmanuel, God with us. And there we think of God being with us as humanity as a whole, not leaving all his people alone, but coming to live among us as a race. But here the promise is much more intimate and much more personal. This is God with us, each of us, individually and personally. He says, I will send my Spirit. He will come as the Spirit of truth. You will know that it's him in your heart and in your mind, and he will speak to you the true words of God. But more than that, he will comfort and support you. He will help you. He will be the presence of Jesus alongside and even within each and every one who believes and who follows. He will counsel. He will speak the words that we need to hear. He will be our advocate. He will speak up for us in the presence of God the Father. It's an extraordinary promise, and his disciples didn't know what to make of it. They didn't understand it until they experienced it. And I think very often that's the same for us, that we need to experience the closeness of the Holy Spirit to know just what it was that Jesus was talking about. And of course, in these last 50 days plus, well, we've been in many ways isolated, in many ways cut off from the fellowship and the worship that spiritually sustains us. But I do hope that in one way or another, as we look back, we can see that we have benefited from the Paraclete, the one who's been called alongside us, the Comforter, the Helper, the Supporter, the Advocate. For in each and every home, God the Holy Spirit is there. Our job is simply to open ourselves up, to open the eyes and the ears of faith, to know that God is with us. He may be with us primarily through the words and the encouragement of other people. He may be with us in our times of prayer or in the refreshment of looking out and seeing the beautiful creation and relaxing and enjoying the sunshine. But God the Holy Spirit is with each and every one of us. And it's by that presence of the Holy Spirit that we know that what Jesus said is true, and we know that God the Father, the immortal, invisible God, actually comes and stoops down to share our own human lives. So my encouragement to you this week is just to practice the presence of God, as some of the old Christian teachers have said. Just to practice God's presence, to become aware of the Holy Spirit in the stillness and in the scriptures, just to allow the Spirit to bring peace, to bring hope, to bring reassurance, whatever it is that we need. Because as so often, God's presence with us isn't in the rushing mighty wind or in the earthquake or in the fire, but in that still small voice. So may God be with you this week. May God the Holy Spirit, the Comforter, Counsellor, the Paraclete, be your ever-present friend during these next few days and until we meet again. God bless you.